Raekwon's latest album and the second in Mass Appeal's Legend Has It campaign, Emperor's New Clothes, dropped last week, and it's really solid. Like, honestly, way better than I expected. I kind of went in with no expectations and was very pleasantly surprised. But that's kind of silly because Raekwon's always been solid, right? But anyways, this album has a couple of features on it. Some from Wu-Tang members, Inspector Deck, Method Man, Ghostface Killah, as well as Griselda, being Westside Gunn, Conway, and Benny, as well as, of course, a Nas feature, which makes sense because Mass Appeal, Nas, that whole thing. But the feature that we got here is not the Nas feature that everyone has been talking about over the weekend. The verse that we got here is really solid, don't get me wrong. He's really rapping here, but it is different than what we saw leaked, and for good reason. The verse that was leaked was confirmed that, hey, that was originally a verse, but it was scrapped. It was rewritten fairly recently by Raekwon himself, which I'll touch on in a little bit. The verse that Nas removed, I guess, from the Omerta was kind of aggressive. And a lot of people, upon hearing it, assumed that there were shots for Jim Jones, which would make sense if you've been kind of keeping up with Jim Jones and his antics. He was saying some wild shit about Nas, and people thought that Nas would have something to say. But Nas was very much like, nah, that ain't me, at least to Raekwon. And he was, again, I'll touch on that later. But some of the lines that Nas has for him is, I'll tell it straighter than a hot comb. You a knockoff. You not from the cloth. My natural instinct is to tell it real and let it sink in. Y'all speak for me, beef with yourself. I be chiefing too hard to notice. I be chiefing too hard to notice that every week it be somebody else. As soon as my name is mentioned, lames are offended. If words hurt you, it wasn't intended. But when it comes to my words, if I said it, I meant it. This one is for you, bitch. And there's so many more in that verse that's just like, oh, clearly Nas feels some way about something. Somebody's clearly upset him, but we don't know who exactly these shots are directed towards. And I don't think he is ever going to tell us. But what we do know is that it's not for Jim Jones, at least from what Raekwon has told us. So yesterday, day before, I forget exactly when it was now, but Raekwon went on IG Live and kind of cleared the air about it. And Raekwon is very, very hard to disagree with, I guess. Like, he's very, like, the way he speaks, you want to believe him. He was very adamant that the Nas verse that we heard, the one that was leaked, was written 3 to 4 months ago. Like, it's an old verse, way before Jim Jones started saying all this crazy stuff about Nas. And what had happened was, as the album was rolling out, Nas was like, oh, damn, Raekwon, I need to rewrite that verse. People are going to misconstrue what I said, and people are just going to assume that it's about Jimmy. And, I don't really need that. And Raekwon at first didn't really believe him, but then he listened back to it and he's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So he rewrote it and all that. And Raekwon was also very clear that if he knew that there was a diss or anything towards Jim Jones on it, he would not have cleared it. And he would have been like, hey, no, we can't do that. Because him and Jim Jones are close. They're friendly with each other. And that also kind of touches on some of the Pusha T and Travis Scott bit. So if you remember on So Be It, Pusha T calls out Travis Scott for kind of being phony, essentially. He came into the Louis Vuitton's headquarters, disrupted a studio session, played the album Utopia, allegedly played Meltdown without the Drake verse, where Drake talks about melting down Pharrell's jewelry. So, it's like, okay, you're gonna do that. You're gonna put a diss on your track against somebody that you've worked with, that you're kind of close with. It's kind of messed up. Like, you did all this just for what? So, Raekwon is not like that. He's like, no, if I knew that it was about Jim Jones, it wouldn't have gotten out. And Nas caught it before anyone else did. But I just thought it was interesting. That verse is crazy. Like, it is a really solid verse. I wish that verse was on the project. It doesn't necessarily fit the song, but it is a very solid verse. And, it's just unfortunate that the timing of everything made it get scrapped essentially, but it is what it is. But man, if I don't have the verse for you, I just have those little snippets that I mentioned, but it's out there. You can find it. It's not too hard. But yeah, check that out and let me know in the comments below what you thought of the verse. If you truly believe that it wasn't about Jim Jones, or if it was, or who it's about. And while you're down there, like and subscribe to see more rambling and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.